This is John May, General Manager of Petrale Roofing, up on another customer's roof doing a free 21-point inspection. If you'd like us to take a look at your roof, give us a call today, 719-375-8773. We'd be happy to take a look and see the condition of your roof. Petrale Roofing, we're a certified TAMCO installer, which means we can offer a industry-leading 25-year workmanship warranty to give you peace of mind in the storm. Call Petrale Roofing, 719-375-8773. Schedule your free inspection today.
Good morning, friends. It is Thursday. It is July 2nd. This is Mornings with Meister on Peaks to Plains Weather. Appreciate you joining me this morning on a day that is, the last three afternoons have been really, really rough with the Aspen Acres fire. I know that you are all aware of that, and yesterday was no exception with another afternoon of challenging fire conditions. And then an update in the evening that we got about the new size of the fire is approaching 50,000 acres now, and there was a significant update on the mapping of the area of the fire. Previously, it had not included Beulah Valley, and it ringed around that. Well, that changed last night. That does not mean that everything in the area is lost, but we know there is loss in that area, and my hunch is, and from some things that I know, it's not a small number of things that have been lost. And so that, obviously as people's lives are changing, that makes the situation different than if it was burning in a forest where there was nothing happening. You can see the previous size of the fire kind of in that sort of pink color, and then the newest updates of the growth. We're in three areas yesterday. Mary and I were on live talking about this. On the western flank, on the northern flank, and the southeastern flank was active for the afternoon yesterday. So thankfully, we don't have it close to I-25, but there were new evacuations yesterday. Wetmore is in one. We've got all the way up to Highway 96 in Custer County. And Colorado City got put in a mandatory evacuation yesterday. And over the next 2 days, what I want to show you here on a look at the grids is, I call this the grids because there's a lot of weather information on here. I show these all the time. But I think in this case, it's worth doing. And we're looking at Colorado Springs here. But notice how the wind stays up during the evening today. And then again as we hit Friday, even into early Saturday, we're not going to get the decrease in wind necessarily to the level that we have the last couple of days. And in Beulah, obviously in the middle of the fire, we're still monitoring that and modeling that from a weather perspective. Notice that the wind stays up during the overnight tonight, and then even again into Friday night. Humidity, we had a little bit of moisture come in from the east overnight, but look at that, single digits and teens here for the next couple of days. So there are 2 more days of fire weather concerns in a big way before we get to some improvement over the weekend. So that there is something to look forward to, but it is going to be a long couple of days, no doubt about that. Let's check where the humidity is early this morning as we jump into that part of Peaks to Plains weather here. You can see that we do have a little bit of good news that the humidity has come up, has gotten into the eastern end of the Aspen Acres fire. That's because we had some outflow for some thunderstorms overnight. Unfortunately, we aren't going to keep that around through the day today. As we just talked about, fire weather concerns will come back. We're well into the 60s over a good chunk of southern Colorado. The Springs is warmer than Pueblo this morning. We've got 67 in Lamar. Notice how dry the air is over the mountains. Gunnison is down to 35 degrees early this morning. And it's that combination of the heat, the dry air, and the wind that has us dealing with the fire weather concerns. And here's where we're at today. We have another red flag warning over the mountains and along the interstate. And that lasts well into the evening. And then we have another day of it on Friday. Notice we don't have things over the western slope. We don't have things in New Mexico. We don't have things up across northeastern Colorado. On Friday, we're turning the corner. But unfortunately, some of the worst conditions, I think, are going to be in the vicinity of the Aspen Acres fire for the next couple of days. And then things will get a little bit better. All right, let's check in with you all this morning. Karen says, good morning and appreciate you. Thanks, Karen. Mary and I and Rachel are all working really, really hard. Larry says that your programming is amazing. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that. We are just trying to help. And Curtis says, good morning. Cass is checking in from Calhan, and with the increase in moisture, she notes that there's a little bit of fog out there this morning. That is certainly good news. That is certainly welcome, even though it's not going to be around all that long. We will certainly take it. So let's jump into the short-term forecast here and start talking about what is on the way the next couple of days. The large-scale pattern is not changed all that much, and it includes an area of high pressure over the southeastern United States that is starting to build over Mexico. That's going to open the door to a pattern change. Now, we still have several waves over the western United States, and this is a messy kind of trough in here, but these little kinks in the flow are important because one of them is going to move overhead today, another one's going to move overhead tomorrow. Those are going to deepen an area of low pressure out over the plains, kind of associated with the dry line. We get a little low across the Palmer Divide, and that's what's going to keep the wind up a little bit at night the next couple of days, before we start to see things improve a little bit as we head toward the weekend and that ridge starts to shift where the air is coming from and the quality of moisture in the air. Because obviously over the mountains, we haven't had any the last couple of days of significance. We did get a couple thunderstorms, as we knew would be the case, across southeastern Colorado yesterday. They were wind makers. We knew that that would be the case as well. We kept some of those around into the later part of the evening and have those off into Kansas now. And today is a very similar day to yesterday in terms of breakdowns. Over far eastern Colorado, you can see that we have the possibility of some severe weather again. It's a little bit farther east than yesterday. Part of that is because that's where the moisture is going to be in the afternoon when the storms finally develop. So some of that increase in dew point, low-level moisture at the surface that we've seen move westward this morning is not going to stick around all that long. By the time we hit the afternoon, we're back into the single digits and teens on the dew points. So, that's why the fire weather concerns continue with the red flag warnings. But right out across far eastern Colorado is where the dry line sets up. And you see that dew points there will be running above 40 degrees and maybe flirting with 50. So as we hit the afternoon, that's where storms will fire. Now, it's a little bit different than yesterday in this way, and I'm going to bring the model back to 1 o'clock. I think the storms fire up earlier. Yesterday, they were kind of after 3 o'clock. They lasted into the evening. Today, it's a little bit different because I think by the time we hit dinner, 6 o'clock, those are all into Kansas. Again, they're wind makers. That's the biggest threat, certainly, out there today. So here's what happens with the wind. The dew points drop. You see the wind picks up over the mountain areas. As we hit the afternoon, we're kind of getting to that heating of the day. The boundary layer of the atmosphere expands. We're easily mixing the atmosphere. And like what we've seen the last couple of days, I think the computer models are underdoing the gusts a little bit as well. And some of the strongest gusts, unfortunately, are going to be in the vicinity of the Aspen Acres fire and then with the storms out across far eastern Colorado. So we hit the early part of the evening here, and you can see we've still got southwest wind over the mountains. We've got a little bit of outflow from those storms trying to move westward here. It's not going to get as far west tonight. So over western Kansas, over eastern Colorado, we'll have an easterly component to the wind. Here's where the outflow boundary will be. This developing area of low pressure, kind of just around Lyman or just to the south of Lyman is what will keep the breezes going over the fire. And it'll be another day of, some pretty active fire weather here as we move into the evening. So those of you that have been watching this fire, unfortunately, we're not going to see improvement in the conditions today because it stays hot. Triple digits return to eastern Colorado today. The mountain areas are warming up a couple degrees. So Salida, we're in the upper 80s. Colorado Springs, we're going to be in the 90s today. If we don't get to 100 in Pueblo today, we will do so tomorrow as we continue with the heat. And then there's a little bit of a change. Check this out. By the time we hit Saturday, we start to drop a little bit over eastern Colorado. We pull back into the low and mid 90s. We're in the 80s for Colorado Springs. The mountains won't change much for Saturday, But then we'll start to see some more noticeable changes here as we head into the early part of next week, and we start to get into a stretch where we are going to see some, I think, thunderstorms across the area that will be welcome, and certainly bringing us a little bit of a change here in a pattern that will bring some welcome moisture to the area. All right, I've got a special guest with me this morning, and I want to bring her on now. And joining me is Kathy Skaggs from Diligent Homes. Kathy, thanks for being here with us on Peaks to Plains Weather. How are you this morning, my friend?
I'm doing well, doing well. The weather, we keep hoping for those fires to get taken care of.
Yeah, it's been a rough week in terms of that way for sure. And unfortunately, as you know, that is part of what is our climatology here in Colorado when we get this drought and dry stretches. You've been sharing with us every week kind of what you are all about. And I want to give you an opportunity to do that today and for me to ask you some questions. Because as I've got to know you, Kathy, what I love about you is your heart for people. And I think that drives a lot of what you do as a real estate professional. Tell me where that comes from for you.
Oh, where that comes from? Let's see. That comes from really my faith. That's the biggest thing, because one of the things you learn is that our job in life is to love people well and to care for people's souls. And real estate, honestly, is one of the easiest ways. You've got people who are coming in wanting to find and make a decision on some huge emotional and huge financial decision, and that causes a lot of anxiety and all kinds of things like that. And having somebody who's competent at what they do and can kind of walk you through in a peaceful way, I feel like that's probably one of the greatest gifts that I can give, because I was emotional on some of my first purchases. Sure. Having a guide is just amazing.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how that translates to that work. When someone chooses to use you to help them buy or sell a home, what does that process look like?
Well, it starts with a lot of questions on, what are you looking for? Or in the sales, also, what are you looking for? On both ends of it, it's really drawing them out to find out what their goals are. And then once that happens, then I go back, do a lot of research, find out what's the market value, what's, all the things that go into the behind the scenes, finding out what's the best path forward for them. And then once we get going, then it's, helping them, guiding them along the path. And then lastly, and it's kind of a big part of it, but walking them through the transaction. Once we go under contract, all those things, the dates and the deadlines, amendments, the title, and all those things, because I do this all the time. I just tell them, let me just take you through this one step at a time, one day at a time, and we'll get you to the other end. I always tell them it's kind of like being a pilot. I fly the plane. I can't guarantee there won't be turbulence, but I will work very hard to get us down smoothly and get to our destination.
I think that's a really good analogy. You're going to go through the process. There might be some bumps, but it's something that experience obviously can help get you through. If someone wants to learn more about you, about Diligent Homes, how can they do that? How can they get in contact with you?
Right. Well, if they just wanted to find out something more about me first, my website, www.diligent.homes, is a great way just to start. But then to reach me, the best way to do that is 719-822-1855.
Okay, so diligent.homes is kind of the portal to get into knowing you, knowing about you. Kathy, is there anything else that you would like the viewers of Peaks to Plains Weather to know about you or Diligent Homes before I let you go this morning?
That's a good question. I love what I do, and I would love to work with anyone who is, anything from a first-time home buyer to someone who's downsizing. I've worked all angles, and being that I grew up military, married military, moved a lot with the military, that's an area that I can speak the language. So I would love to work pretty much with anyone who is in those kind of categories.
Okay, well, Kathy Skaggs, Diligent Homes, I appreciate you making some time for us this morning. Kathy, thanks for the partnership on Peaks to Plains Weather, and thanks for the heart that you have for people. It is very evident in just talking to you and in what you do, and so I am grateful for the time this morning, Kathy. Have a good day. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, that is Kathy Skaggs, Diligent Home. She is one of our partners here on Peaks to Plains Weather. And if you would like to support our partners, we would be grateful for that. We're helping them grow their small businesses. We are a small business. They're serving the community. We are serving the community. And she just has a heart of gold. And I think she is fantastic. All right, we're going to jump now to the extended forecast here. But I want to get some more comments from all of you this morning. Cindy says, I hope we get some rain soon up here, and we do have some on the way for sure. Cindy also says that it is cool in Divide this morning. Stacy is still in Colorado City. I think she is evacuated from what I remember here. So she's on, or no, she's not. She's in Colorado City, so she must be on the south end of town where there is a pre-evacuation status. That also extends into northern Huerfano County, where some of us have to use the roads up into Colorado City and Highway 165 to get out of there. And so thanks for watching from there. And Patricia says, good morning and blessings to you. I would say blessings back to you and blessings to everybody here. Isaac says, hey, hope you're well this morning. And, you know, I feel the weight of the long days here for sure, Isaac, but we're getting through this together. And there are many, many people that are working some really long hours here that are serving the community with the Aspen Acres Fire in support roles on the front lines, of course. And we are going to talk about that here in a second. I do have Josh Johnson, who is the Emergency Management Coordinator with Pueblo County, scheduled to join us here in a little bit. And I know he's busy. It's possible something that has come up, but he is going to tell us about what it's been like kind of in the fire area, trying to coordinate things, trying to figure out what we've lost and what we haven't lost. And we'll hear from him coming up in just a little bit. When we come back, he will maybe be here and we'll talk about our extended forecast as well. You're on Peaks to Plains Weather, Mornings with Meister. Love your yard with a new outdoor space from F&B Landscaping. From a new build to a new project in an existing yard, we listen and give you the yard you want within your budget. Lawns, water features, xeriscaping. We've got the artistic touch and technical know-how to bring the peak of Colorado outdoor living to your home. Reliable, trustworthy. Visit fblandscapes.com to schedule a free consultation today.
I'm Catherine.
And I'm Dewey, here with another water-wise tip.
During summer, do you know why we water up to 3 days a week?
To make the best use of me.
Exactly. It builds deeper, stronger roots and makes your lawn more resilient.
Also, use the cycle and soak method. Try shorter cycles with breaks in between to reduce runoff.
And in spring or fall, you can water 1 or 2 days per week. Be water-wise and your lawn will thrive.
Now that's water-wise. Learn more at csu.org/waterwise.
At Phil Long Ford Motor City, we've been around for 80 years. That's like 560 in dog years.
To say thank you to our loyal customers, it's employee pricing for all. You pay what we pay. Our way of celebrating Colorado's 150th anniversary and America's 250th birthday.
American value for American values. You pay what we pay. Right, boys?
That's right. Only at the original Phil Long Ford store.
Emergencies are unpredictable, but you don't have to be unprepared. Peak Alerts sends you targeted emergency alerts in real time for the places that matter to you most, so you know what's happening and what to do next. Know first, act fast. That's the power of Peak Alerts.
All right, we start talking about our holiday weekend, America's 250th birthday, and we start talking about a pattern change that is going to come our way. So we have an area of high pressure over the eastern United States, and there's clockwise flow around that. And so notice here on the western edge of it is where we have some of the hotter temps. We're into July now. Obviously, the deserts of the Southwest are going to be hot as well. And this heat in Southern California and in Arizona produces at the surface what we call a heat low. Both of these things are going to work together to start to increase our moisture here as we head into next week. And so that'll be something that you notice and will also give us a little bit of a break from the heat. You can see underneath the high, we've got sinking air over the east coast of the United States. So on the beaches, it's been very, very clear the last couple of days. And on the western edge of the high is where we've had thunderstorm activity, and that has been strong. We do expect some severe weather again today. If you have travel plans, maybe to start off a holiday for summer. Up across Iowa, up across Minnesota, up across Wisconsin is where we will see some severe weather again today. There is a threat for some tornado activity and some very large hail as we move from the afternoon into the evening. And then on the edge of the low level moisture is where we'll see a chance of some severe thunderstorms in Colorado. Let me fast forward you into the weekend though, because that's when things start to change up a little bit. There may be a couple of storms across northeastern Colorado and perhaps the Palmer Divide or the Pikes Peak region. I'm still kind of wrestling with the likelihood of that. But here's the high that's starting to take shape as we move through the weekend into early next week, and it's going to stay with us here. So we start to get clockwise flow. We start to get moisture coming up from the south, and it opens the door for some thunderstorms. It keeps most of the waves up to the north across the U.S. and Canada border, and we begin to kind of like a washing machine here. We're just starting to cycle moisture around, and it's a pretty typical pattern for the time of year. It is going to increase our chance of thunderstorms. In particular, I think as we head into the middle part of the week, I think we'll see the coverage get a little bit better. These storms this time of year typically move pretty slow, and so depending on the amount of water in the air, and that's one of the things we're still wrestling with. Some are obviously a little bit more excited faster than others in bringing the amount of water in here for the storms to use. The more water there is around, the more likelihood that we're going to have where some of these slow-moving storms, especially if they hit one of our new burn scars that we've got in the area, could produce some flash flooding concerns. So it's something we'll be aware of here. But we do get a cool down Saturday into Sunday and Monday and really through most of next week. Looks like we'll be below 90 in Colorado Springs. I mean, not, it's middle of summer. You're not going to get an enormous amount of cooling most of the time, but we'll take it. And so by the time we hit Sunday, I'm going to put storms in the forecast. There's an outside chance. I've got a 1 in 5 shot on Saturday. I'll keep an eye on that here over the next couple of days, and we'll change that if we need to. But then, by the time we hit Monday into Tuesday and certainly into Wednesday, I think we get a more likely situation where these storms are going to put some wetting rains down. That'll be the case as well over Woodland Park. These will initially start over and near the mountain areas, and then there will be, when the moisture thickens up, a better chance of getting some of these out across the plains. But you see a temperature drop in Woodland Park as well, and I can't rule out a thunderstorm Saturday afternoon, especially for Teller County. The farther south and west you go over the mountains, I think that likelihood is lower. And so Pueblo, we're going to get a day or two next week. I'm kind of eyeing Tuesday into maybe Wednesday. I still have some work to do there when we will have a better chance of thunderstorms. But again, that's something that we'll keep working on. I mean, we don't do a forecast and then walk away for a couple of days and then come back. There's always new information coming in. And the farther you get out into the future, our ability to be specific, it just drops. I know you understand that, but I feel like I need to explain that every now and then. Because if somebody sees a forecast on Wednesday for something over the weekend and then they don't see anything else, sometimes they're like, well, I thought I was going to do whatever on Saturday. And it's like, well, I changed that on Thursday and or Friday. So something to just, kind of pay attention to. All right, I see Josh Johnson getting ready. He is out on the road already this morning. I'm going to give him a couple minutes to do that and to kind of get all settled, but I'm excited to talk to him because it's been a long couple of days for many, many people. Linda is checking in. She's in Colorado Springs in the Union and Austin Bluffs area and says that she sees some ash on her deck this morning. We've dealt with that the last couple of days as the fire gets active in the afternoon and the pyrocumulus cloud gets more noticeable. There's more particulates coming into the air, and then the atmosphere settles down a little bit at night. A number of us in Pueblo West, and across parts of Colorado Springs have seen some ash falling. And Julie is excited about the rain next week. She says, yeah, bring it on. I am ready for it. So there you go. Connie's watching from Trinidad this morning. Connie, good morning to you. Hope everything is okay. And Katie says, is it best to get outside as far as air quality goes? It's interesting. It's a good question. At night, the atmosphere, the boundary layer, we call it, kind of gets a little bit less deep. And then in the afternoons, there's a little bit more mixing. And so it's sort of this double-edged sword, because when the air is mixing, We're turning the atmosphere over. We get the fire to get more active. There's more particulates in the air, but then at night we're kind of dispersing things a little bit. You know, the smoke is spreading out, but the atmosphere is going like this vertically. So you get a little bit of both, Katie. So, you know, I think it's a little bit better to be outside in the morning, but you know, some of the air quality folks around the area, you know, obviously we've shown you the smoke forecast and we've had smoke around the area for the last couple of days. All right, I'm going to bring Josh Johnson in now. I'm going to be respectful of his time here. He has a lot going on today, and I am certainly grateful that he has made time for us here on Peaks to Plains Weather. We'll see how his signal is working. But Josh, good morning to you, my friend. Tell me where you are. You're obviously out and about really, really early this morning.
Good morning, Matt. I am currently sitting on the side of 47-8 on my way down to Beulah, stay at the Beulah Fire Station.
Okay, so tell me what the last couple of days have been like for you and for where you are as the emergency management coordinator in Pueblo County dealing with this fire. My friend, I know you've had a lot going on.
That's an understatement. The short answer is it's been a very long and very trying 3 days for not only myself, but our community. It's just devastating to be down here, to see the loss that we've had. I believe last night the current we're up to like 47,000 acres lost. And so it's very difficult to see the devastation that this fire's caused to not only the Pueblo community, specifically the Beulah community, the Rye, Colorado, city communities, and it's impacting now Huerfano County, Custer County, and maybe even threatening Fremont County. So this is a large fire that's impacting lots of people.
Yeah, I know the flood of help continues to come into the area. There's a national level team that is taking over today, and that means any and all resources are available. This is the nation's highest priority fire. How have you seen that flow of help arriving change in the last 24 hours or so?
You know, this morning I was up to 16. I didn't make it down where the briefing was held by for that, able to watch it on my computer. Night and day difference. You know, they brought in a complex incident management team. This team, the current one that was up, the level 1 team, came from Alaska, and it was a 36-minute briefing, which is, you know, the standard for a level 1 team like this. The last couple days with the slightly smaller team was about half that time. They have lots to say. I mean, one of the things that you'll appreciate, the weather piece took almost 8 minutes just to talk about the weather, how that's going to impact the fire, the smoke, which you were just talking about before I joined, and the way the fire progresses and how much larger it can get over the next day, 2, 3, into the weekend.
So what has your role been in the last couple of days as the emergency management coordinator? I know you're out on the road, you're not behind a desk. Josh, what does your day look like? Oh, we might have lost him there. We'll see if we can give him a little bit of time to kind of come back and join us here. Obviously, you know, there's lots of communication flowing out across the area. I'm going to show you some of the imagery that we have had here at the Peaks to Plains in our forecast center during the afternoons. You know, things have been firing up pretty noticeably. We got this from the air. Chad was flying back from Montrose yesterday. He was near Canyon City looking off to the south. That's what the pyrocumulus cloud looked like where he was. This is a unique shot from Josh in Divide, who was looking southward. And you see the back edge of that fire along the Front Range. This is a little bit of a different view than what a lot of us have seen. And here's another look from Canyon City off to the south. And it's just eerie, even if you're not directly impacted by the fire, to see it off to the south and know that it is growing and that things are happening and you aren't able to do anything. I know that leaves a lot of us feeling helpless. But inside the fire in the afternoons and early evenings in particular, things have been very, very challenging and very, very active. And that's why the fire has grown to nearly 48,000 acres. We got this late yesterday. You can hear the wind moving there, obviously not as significant as the areas that, are in the vicinity of the fire where it's moving a little bit more vigorously, but it's certainly something we're going to see again today. I would expect it to look very, very similar to what we've seen the last couple of afternoons, and I would expect another day of some continued growth. So it looks like we've lost Josh there on his signal, unfortunately, and he's trying to join us back here again. So I'm going to give him a couple more minutes. Josh, if you feel like you're getting the signal for us, give me a thumbs up and I'll bring you back in here, my friend. And I do see you now. So while I have you, I'm going to bring you back in. So Josh, tell me a little bit, before we lost you, I was asking you what your day has looked like the last couple of days and what your role has been.
Sorry, signal is very spotty down here because the fire's affected cell towers, our radio towers that our radios work off of. So my apologies. So my day has been working with various fire departments around the county, the 9 different fire departments. We have fire departments from all over the region, all over the state, working with the incident team that's running the fire, coordinating resources that are coming in, and over the last couple days working with the fire chief and the sheriff on the homes, because I know that's a high priority for everybody. Everybody wants and needs to know rightfully if their homes were damaged by these fires.
So tell me a little bit about how that process has been. I imagine that with everything happening and kind of being in the middle of the fire burn area, that is not a fast process.
It's not. We started doing damage assessments Tuesday. Sorry, it's days running together.
I understand.
It took almost 6 hours, and we got about 30 homes evaluated. Partially because of distance, partially because of, these are some fairly remote homes that you've got to get to. You've got to drive up driveways. Some have trees down over them, debris, gates or entry fences, destroyed and have to be moved. And the other thing is we have to do it in a deliberate sense. I would hate to tell you today that your house was okay, but then if the wind shifted or something happened, maybe tomorrow your house wasn't okay. And so, that's one concern. The other thing is with a fire that's nearly 50,000 acres, there's not a lot of personnel to go around and check homes. We're still trying to fight the fire and stop the fire from getting bigger. So it's a double-edged sword. Do we stop and go around and check people's homes? Do we fight the fire? Do we tell you your home's okay now and run the risk that maybe something else happens? So I know, and I want people to know that we are doing the best we can. The other side is Sheriff Lucero is very dedicated. He wants to make sure that people know, and Chief Ware, we want to tell people in person. We don't want you to see it on a social media post. We don't want to send you a text message. We want personal notifications that, Matt, your house was unfortunately lost. So as we're doing these assessments, we want to make individual personalized notifications from the sheriff's office, from the fire department, because we feel we owe you that. So that's one piece we're trying to work through.
I appreciate that level of compassion. I'm sure everybody understands that as well and kind of explains why, it is a little bit of a slower process, and kudos to all of you, Josh, for that. Are you able to say of an area that has maybe, from what you've seen in the fire, has had a bigger impact from a loss perspective than somewhere else, or is that something you're not able to do at this time?
I can't, out of respect for the homeowners, I don't want to get too detailed.
Sure.
But I will say this entire fire, the Beulah community was hit the hardest. It affected Rye, the affected Custer County and the Aspen Acres community. affecting the Red Creek community currently, but by far was hit the hardest.
And I think that, you know, is not going to come as a surprise to anybody. Josh, what would you like to pass on to people here before I let you go, now that we're a little bit past 7 o'clock, as we move through the next couple of days before we hopefully get to a little bit of improvement on the weather front anyways, that can help us start to get maybe a handle on the fire? Because I know this is going to be a long journey.
It is. It's going to be a long journey. I guess the two things I'd like to pass along to your viewers is, one, please, please, please heed our evacuation notices. I know there were a lot of people there. There were people that did not want to leave their homes. And I know some of our messaging came across as leave now or you might not leave at all. Sometimes that can come across as harsh. There comes a point where we are not able to save you. We cannot risk losing firefighters, law enforcement to come back in and save you if you refuse to leave. So that's point one. Point two is we are open disaster assistance center. And so that information should be on our sheriff's office website where it's located, because we're in the process of accepting donations. Homes were lost, which means all belongings were lost. And so we are starting to work with our various partners, non-governmental organizations, VOADs, the state, because this is going to be a long road to recovery. And so please check with local media, trusted outlets. And if you have been affected, where you can go to receive assistance.
Well, Josh, I'm grateful for the time this morning. I know how busy you are. I know how tired you are. I know that you are well aware that there's a lot of work in front of you. So as you see people today, please pass on to them that, you know, certainly all of us here at Peaks to Plains, but I know the entire community is grateful for the work. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate your expertise and your willingness to share a little bit about how things are going in the fire today. So I appreciate you, my friend, and I hope you have the best day you can, given the circumstances, and continued safety for you and everybody that's fighting the fire.
Same to you, my friend. We'll talk soon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Josh. That is Josh Johnson. He is the Emergency Management Coordinator in Pueblo County. And, obviously lots of resources coming in to help, as you heard him say there. And I know he is grateful for that. I know his teams are grateful for that. And that is something that, we need right now in Southern Colorado. We need that help, and it is on the way here. Before we let you go, let's check out your comments. Deb says, thanks for being on top of this. We live in Westcliff. Appreciate the quick updates. We are so glad, Susan says, to have your information while driving home from New Mexico on I-25. And Jennifer this morning saying thanks to Josh as well for the long days and keeping us updated. And, it takes a team effort. Colorado is a strong place. We've seen that, unfortunately, in the past, and we are going to see that here in the future. So for those of you that are joining us, I know it's morning. Lots of us are in and out here. I'm going to end with what I think kind of echoes what Josh said, and is a sort of sign here that the Beulah area has been heavily hit. Last night, they were officially included within the perimeter of the fire. We had previously seen the fire being shown as kind of ringing around the area. I'll stress this. It doesn't mean that everything in Beulah Valley is a loss, but obviously there has been loss in that area. The fire today is going to go over 50,000 acres. I have no doubt about that. And here's where the areas of new growth were yesterday. It was on the western end of the fire, the northern end of the fire. Those were the most active areas. And we did get a pretty significant flare up on the southeastern side of the fire that prompted the new evacuations for Colorado City. Wetmore, northeastern Custer County are all evacuated as well. You can find those on the Sheriff Department websites. But to echo what Josh said, there is always going to be a lead that they give in the evacuation areas. But you can see, there's no containment on this fire. And so as it starts moving in the afternoons, they have to give everybody time out ahead of the fire to evacuate. So you may be in an area that's asked to evacuate and you're like, oh, this doesn't seem like it's that close. Well, as Josh said, they are encouraging you to heed the evacuation notices. If you're in these areas that you're kind of bordering an evacuation area, take the opportunity to pack some stuff up because you just don't know. And we have 2 more days of very, very active fire growth on the way in the afternoon and evenings. And like I told you, I think some of these gusts are going to stick around a little bit longer into the evenings than what we've seen the last couple of days. Through the nights. So in Colorado Springs, you kind of see that happening here into the early morning hours. Like notice the gusts in the Springs at 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Same thing Friday night into Saturday there on the right-hand side of our grids. That has been a little bit atypical, certainly different than some of the last couple of nights. And even in Beulah, where we are in the middle of the fire here, this is representative, I think, of what we're going to get on some of the fire fronts here, that we keep that going Friday night into Saturday morning. And then again, as we head from tonight into Friday morning, we're just going to keep it around a little bit longer. My friends, that's going to wrap it up for me here this morning. It's been a long week for a lot of people, and today and tomorrow are going to be some challenging ones as well. Yesterday, we got word from the city of Colorado Springs, from Canyon City, that the fireworks shows are canceled. I think that is right. I think that's a good call. I applaud those efforts. Given that there's such a big fire in the area and that there is drought across the area, it's just, even though it's America's 250th birthday and we all want to celebrate, it's not the time to do that. If you have some fireworks, just save them for another time. Wait until we get a stretch of some rain or something and do a delayed. I'm really concerned about Saturday night that we're going to have new fire startup because people are doing some things that they were asked not to do and things get out of control. I mean, be a good neighbor and just help. Now, I, for one, would be grateful, and I know lots of others would as well. Crew, Julie says, praying that everyone stays safe. And Barbara says, thank you to Josh. And I echo those comments. I hope that you and your families are, not impacted by this fire. For those of you that are, I certainly have a lot of compassion for you. And I know that you're not getting information in some cases in the way that you want. But you heard Josh say there that they want to let people know in person. And I think that's very admirable and also the right thing to do. This has been Mornings with Meister on Peaks to Plains Weather. I hope you have a good day. When things get more active here in the afternoon, we will be here for you because Peaks to Plains Weather is our weather together.
For over 20 years, my family, like so many of you, has proudly been part of Broncos country.
Every season, we feel the energy, passion, and commitment that defines this team.
And now, we are honored to be the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos.
Ramos Law. What makes us different makes us better.